my husband, for 6 years, has been feeling ill on a regular basis, pretty much every day. And it's been very challenging for him and for our relationship. I feel like our relationship has fulfilled all my visions of conscious partnership.
What does he think about mostly? Is he trying to save the world along with you, or is he more selfish?
Well, he's very much involved in making the world a better place, for sure.
Well,
for many, many years.
That'll get you every time. There's too many moving parts, too many unknown factors, too many things you can't control. He's got to stop doing that. In other words, he's not sick because there's something in his body that is determined to be there that is taking him from wellness. He is pushing against so many things that do not allow him to be in vibrational alignment with well-being. Wow. You can't worry about what's happening to the world without shooting yourself in the foot. Wow. Every single time.
So he's been looking through so many doctors and exams and trying to find, and he found a few things like mercury poisoning, heavy metal, and he had a parasite, different things.
You could lie in your bed feeling wonderful because of the conversation you're having with your mate. Get focused upon something else, beat the drum for 2 or 3 hours, and bring yourself to what feels like the brink of death.
It's true.
And it hasn't got anything to do with some disease that has entered your body from the outside. It has to do with you activating a vibration within you that is disallowing the energy of well-being from flowing. Mm-hmm. And when you do that over a period of time, then you begin saying things like, I can't remember the last time I felt good. I wonder what's wrong with me. And then when you make the mistake of going to someone who looks with all of those tools and microscopes, and they look places that you can't look, and they go, I think I've seen this before, let's run some tests, then your expectation about bad things going wrong just runs rampant until before you know it, you really do have a identifiable disease. They make a label, they tag it to your toe. You see? You cannot look at things that make you emotionally feel bad. There is no difference between the way you feel emotionally and the way you come to feel physically. Because your physical expression is just an extension of your emotional expression. Just like your emotional expression is an extension of your connection to your source energy. So when you are wide open, connected to source energy, you're yipping and yahooing, you're praising, you're loving, you're singing, you're whistling, you're yodeling. You are in your joy, you see. And to the degree that you are looking at things that are broken, or looking at things that are unjust, or looking at things that are wrong, you diminish that and diminish that and diminish that. And little by little, it happens so gradually you don't even know you're doing it. And then you say, I don't feel good and I don't know why. And we say, it's always the same answer. You've been looking at things that make you feel bad, and you've done it long enough that you don't even know you're doing it. You see.
So how
most people just feel normal to feel ornery.
Yeah. This is completely right on and accurate, and maybe you can assist me and him. I mean, you've given us the tools.
Well, we would say the same thing to you about your relationship with him as we would say to you about your relationship with the children in India or anyone. You've got to make him and what he's living something that is a non-issue to you. First of all, his well-being matters a great deal to you, so you really, really, really want his well-being, and when you observe him not living it, it tears you apart, and you can't do anything about it. And so you've got to turn your attention. Oh no, now you'll be selfish. You've got to turn your attention from what is going wrong in his experience. One day we were saying this to someone, a mother, and she said, but will my child not feel like I have abandoned him? And we say, you're not abandoning all of him, just the negative parts of him. In other words, you're not ignoring his smiles, you're not ignoring the happy memories, you're not ignoring the wonderful things he says, you're not ignoring the enormous list of positive aspects. You're beating the drum of those things all the time. You're just ignoring the complaining, ignoring the worrying. But you can't ignore it till you've practiced it. Have you ever seen a parent whose child is creating absolute mayhem to the point that you feel like your teeth are going to fall out, and the parent doesn't even seem to notice that there's anything going on? Well, they've learned to ignore that. In other words, they've learned to focus on other things for their own self-survival. And you must do it too. In other words, you have to allow them to be whatever they are, but not try to make everything that they're living such an issue to you. You just don't need to talk about every single thing. So when you have this new mantra that says nothing is more important than that I feel good, and today in every moment that I can consciously remember, I'm going to do my best to make the best of where I am, to make the best of it, to make the best of it, to make the best of it, then as you're making the best and making the best and making the best, if he's really wanting to make the worst, and we don't feel that that's the case, pretty soon he'd just stop making the worst with you. Haven't you noticed how annoying it is to try to complain to somebody who's trying to be positive? They're just miserable to be with. If you've got it on your mind to complain and they won't complain, it's terrible to be with someone like that. In the same way that when you want to feel good and someone won't feel good, it doesn't feel so good either. Don't ask law of attraction to make you an exception. Go with the flow. We see you. It's like you get into your canoe of life and you say, I'm so happy I'm alive. I'm glad to be here. And you put your canoe in the water and you turn it upstream. And then you just paddle with all your might. You get tired, your muscles ache, and we say, just turn it around and go with the flow. And you say, well, who will get the credit for that? How will I get the marks on my chart? Who will see me valiant and virtuous? Who will praise me if I don't struggle and suffer? And we say, turn around and just try it. It feels so much better. And see how much easier it is. You're supposed to feel good. It is supposed to be easy. When you take the problems of the world on your shoulders, your body doesn't feel good. It's just that simple. Yeah. Leave the problems of the world to the individual problem makers of the world. And you be the joy seeker that you are. And on your way to joy, enjoy the life-giving revenge phase. And then enjoy the life-giving anger. And then enjoy the life-giving frustration. In other words, don't try to make the jump. You'll end up in the ditch. Good.
Thank you so much.
There's a range of emotions that goes all the way from empowered to disempowered. And every emotion, whether you call it fear or whether you call it joy, is something about that range from disempowered to empowered. It's something about the feeling of absolute freedom, which is who we all are, and disempowerment or bondage, which is absolutely not who we are. But there are some things that occur in your physical experience that make you feel powerless. And the more powerless you feel, the worse you feel. The more empowered you feel, the better you feel, because you are empowered creators. That's who you are. You are naturally free beings, and you know that you are beings who can be or do or have anything, who have in fact come here to be or do or have what you are choosing to be or do or have. So when something happens in your experience that makes you feel powerless, then emotions like discouragement, emotions like fear, emotions like despair or depression are good labels for the way you feel. Those are word labels that really describe feelings of utter disempowerment. So today, we're going to be talking with a lot of people, and we will choose you based upon the intensity of your desire to visit with us. And if there is opportunity and willingness from you, we will, along with those who are listening in, help you to identify where you are on this emotional meter. And then we will apply what we believe is the most effective process to help you move up the meter. Now, some of you are thinking, yes, but what's that got to do with what I've come here to talk about? Because someone who doesn't have enough money would like a plan to get more money. Someone who's in a sick body would like a plan to get to a weller body. Someone who is lonely and without a relationship would like to know how they can find their perfect partner. And what we hope that you will come to a place of understanding as we are chewing together here today is that every journey from wherever you are to wherever you want to be, whether you realize it at first or not, is really an emotional journey. In other words, rather than saying, I don't have enough money, the bill collectors are hounding me, I don't even want to answer my telephone, I am really in financial bondage, and I want to find a way to find an avenue to get more money so that I can pay my bills and have money left over so that I can do more of the things that I want to do. instead of that action journey, what we want you to understand is that it is an emotional journey that goes more like, right here, right now, I would like to find my way from this fear of not enough money to the feeling of security, of financial well-being. We want to show you how you can make the emotional journey in a matter of minutes, certainly in a matter of days. And once you make the emotional journey, the physical journey will take care of itself. But if you try to take the physical journey before you've taken the emotional journey, which means as you try to offer action before you've adjusted your vibration, law of attraction doesn't help you. You can't buck that current. So you come away from the whole exercise feeling discouraged because nothing's changing. I keep trying it and I keep trying it and I keep trying it, you say, and nothing works for me. And we say, it will work for you if you will relax and decide that you are going to let it be an emotional journey. Now, in really simple terms, what making it an emotional journey means is, I'm just going to make the best of wherever I am. Anything that's bothering me, I'm going to try to soften it by making the best of it. Now, if you try to make the best of it too far from where you are, you'll just throw yourself off into the bushes. So what you want to say is, I'm reaching for the best feeling thought that I have access to. Not the best feeling thought anybody's ever thought. Not the best feeling thought I've ever thought. The best feeling thought I can find right here, right now about this. And when you do your best to find a thought that feels just a little better, and here's the important part, you pay no attention to what anybody else thinks about it. The only thing that matters is that you feel better. Once you achieve just that little particle of feeling better, and you stop and say, I do feel better, no matter how bad you still feel, I feel better than I felt before. Now you're free. Because isn't it logical? If I am so depressed that I can't get a breath of fresh air, I can hardly breathe, I feel claustrophobic, and then I find a life-giving thought of anger, and I beat the drum of it, even though it's still socially unacceptable, and even though my therapist or my mate liked me better when I was depressed, because at least I left them alone. Now I'm angry them in their face. I have to admit, and I'm the only one that counts here, I have to admit this anger feels infinitely better than that bondage and depression and claustrophobia that I felt before. And if you stop and recognize that you do feel better, and then you say, and I chose this thought on purpose. My thoughts aren't thinking me. I deliberately reached for this angry thought, and I like this angry thought a whole lot better than this depressed thought. Now I'm back in charge. And if I still continue to follow the mantra, I'm going to reach for the best feeling thought I have access to, I might find a thought that feels even better than this angry thought. And if I still do it, I might find a thought that feels better than this thought of frustration or overwhelmment. There is relief in every thought. It's sort of hard for you to hear from your physical vantage point because it seems like there should not be much relief from a feeling of ecstasy. But we're here to tell you that there are even degrees of ecstasy. And so the operative word, the thing you can get your thoughts around is, I'm reaching for relief. So how does that fall into the greater scheme of things? Well, you are extensions of source energy. That's who you are. You are physical. Yes, you are. We see you in your bodies, but you are vibrational more than you are physical. You are electronic more than you are physical. You are vibrating mechanisms. You are extensions of source energy. And when the circuits are all open, you feel wonderful. You are clear-minded. You feel enthusiasm. You feel love. But the more the circuits are pinched off, and by that we mean the more contradictory vibration that is introduced, then the less good you feel. So your emotions are about the allowance of your alignment with Source or the disallowance. It's about the allowance or the resistance. It's about the open valve or the closed valve. It's about letting it in. It's about not letting it in. It's about being a vibrational match to who you are or not. And your emotions let you know how you're doing. So, we are eager to talk with you about anything that is important to you. It will be a wonderful unfolding here. You will discover that there will be people who will ask your questions even better than you can. Nothing that is important to you will go unanswered here. We are aware of who you are and what you are wanting. And there are some people that will make excellent spokespeople for you. In other words, sometimes if you're not in the chair asking your question, you are more likely to hear the answer to your question. Because when you ask the question, you have to justify the question. You have to beat the drum of it. And when you beat the drum of the question, sometimes you're not in vibrational alignment with the answer.